Welcome to Overtime, brought to you by KingsCast at www.kingscast.net. I'm Keith Korlick.
And I'm Chris Kalazewski.
Chris and I decided to assemble some of the brightest minds in local media covering the Los Angeles Kings and have a little roundtable discussion.
We now continue the postseason roundtable series, Part 2, episode number 58.
I tell you what, though, if Murray can get Jack Johnson to perform on a consistent basis, then that'll be the note. That'll say that he's really a great coach.
That's a challenge, you're right.
Right. And I think Jack Johnson, really what we can look for, when I look at Jack Johnson, what I see really is another...
I see another Steve Duchesne type, which means, okay, in that secondary type of a role, but if you're going to look at him to be the guy, the number one guy, it's not going to work out the way I thought. That's what I've seen from Jack Johnson so far.
Yeah, uneven play, but he shows his great skill, but as far as, at the end of the day, his impact on the game overall is really kind of negligible.
Yeah, Jack's first hurdle was to realize he's not Drew Doughty, and he realized that this year. Now, work on the back end, work on the rest of your game. And
I think he's a good two guy to have.
Oh, absolutely.
If he can fit into that role and understand that's what he's going to be, and when contract time comes up, understand that's what he's going to be next to Drew Doughty, then I think it'll be fine. But as long as they keep trying to push him into a number one type role,
not happening.
that's it. Jack Johnson is Jack Johnson. Drew Doughty is Drew Doughty.
You think there's maybe some ego there with Jack Johnson?
I mean, it just seems like he wants to be that number one guy, and he won't be because Drew Doughty is a generational player, it seems.
Here's what it is with Doughty, and I think Lombardi, what he was trying to touch on was that the fact that it's one thing when you're playing and you're outclassing other players, which is what he had when he was growing up.
But when you get to the NHL, even you got guys who are not as fast, not as strong, not as big, but still, you're not outclassing them, you just have a different skill set. But these guys can deal with it. So you can't just go in there and think your skill alone is going to do it. It's all about positioning, angles, all those little things that he never probably had to study until he got to this level.
That's right.
Now he really has to reinvent himself as a hockey player. That's what it is. He came in as this terrific athlete. Now you got guys, hey, we're all great athletes up here. So now he's going to have to learn to play at this level, which is going to take more discipline on Jack Johnson's part, probably than he's ever had to show in his life.
To Johnson's credit, though, if you remember back to early this season, he was still pretty lousy in his own end.
Towards the end of the season, though, not nearly as many miscues, not nearly as many misassignments. His position was much better. His physical play was much better. His play in his own zone was his biggest problem. It's not nearly as big a problem as it was. And I think we saw that in the playoffs. He was able to bring his entire game together, by and large.
So you combine the intangible factor that he's got, that heart, that fire he's got, he could be a 1A defenseman to Doughty. And the advantage he has over a Steve Duchesne type player is that he's able to play the physical game that Duchesne was not able to play.
Hey, I'm just keeping it real here.
So is Alexander Frolovs gone?
Yeah, I think so. The coach didn't say so.
And he wants everybody back.
Well, I said
the coaches are going to open that can of worms in the press box, right?
Well, no, but that's not true because I've talked to coaches who said, you're going to bring this player back. We're going to go in a different direction. And they say that.
Well, it's a matter, I think if the GM has already signed off on it, that's one thing. But I don't think Murray is going to say anything that is going to, unless it came down from above that these X, Y, and Z are gone. I don't think that the coach is really going to admit.
The way I staged it was, I said, if at the right price, you could have Alexander Frolovs back. I couldn't finish the sentence. Terry said, absolutely.
Well, remember,
what's the price, though?
Right,
exactly.
Remember, also, Terry also told us, I don't know, I think it was after the last playoff game, he said, I want everybody back.
So, but that's my point.
But I specifically asked about that player.
That's really bad.
He did not let me finish the sentence. But again, he's not. If he wants $5 million, he's going to get in the Continental League, not here. It's not going to happen.
And I suspect that's what he's going to ask for, quite honestly, because already, and when I last spoke with Dean on that eventful day, he did say he expected to have trouble signing Frolov. So he's anticipating
a demand higher than what he's
51 points, according to this.
19 goals.
19 goals, 32 assists.
But it's not just last year, though. This has been coming for a couple of years. We've all known for the last couple of years that Frolov was going to want more money, and it was. I think this is more like the 30 goals and how much he's made before, and he's not going to look at the 19 goals that he had last year. And I mean, he was a disappointment. I mean, for fans, he was a disappointment. Every time he was out there, it was just like, which one are we going to get? He'll go through his spurts, and his spurts were shorter last year, where he could carry the team for a week. And you'd go and you would see he has 6, 7 goals and 4 games, and you're like, this is the guy we want, let's re-sign him. And you'd always see people on message boards and on Twitter, they'd be like, see, all of you Frolov haters, where are you at now? And it's like, don't worry, I'll be back in a week. And it's not anything personal about Frolov. And when he's cycling and he's on his game, and he actually is the puck-possessing guy that, you look and you think, him and Jesus and Simmons, it's like, that line on paper, in theory, what they can do, that's a playoff line. Where it's like they can grind and they can shut down the Sedins because they don't have the puck. Yeah. But how often does that happen?
And the problem too is if you were to pay a guy like Frolov $5 million a year, then what do you pay Kopitar? Did you give him ownership in the team or what?
Right.
And plus, remember, Frolov, the one thing is the problem with him is in here. Yep, exactly. It's about the heart.
Anytime you get a player whose name ends in a V, there's always going to be a question of heart there.
Are you profiling? You're profiling, aren't you?
I'm just keeping it real.
He's been the same player from day one of his NHL career to now, pretty much.
He's got one move. He curls the net, tries to do a wraparound.
But you can't take him off the puck when he makes that move.
That's true.
As good a player as there is in the league doing that.
But he doesn't know how to build the options off of that and work with his line.
But how much do we lose if we don't have that guy controlling the puck? That's the one thing that worries me. I mean, if we could get him affordable, that's great, but we do lose a lot.
Hypothetically speaking, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but say they re-sign Modine.
He's going to be half the price of Frolov. Especially after the last 3 or whatever years it's been in Columbus, it was a train wreck. So if he's playing with Jesus and with Simmons, and then it's Modine, and you have it for half the price, I mean, I don't know how for the future if you're building, because you're going to have to pay people soon. You're going to have the Dowdies that you're going to have to worry about, and then Richardson's, restricted free agent who's going to get raised. At some point, it's going to be, is he worth that extra money?
That's the point. I wish I could contribute something greater to this. But he's a really quiet guy. He doesn't really certainly as the media, it's not our job to get in, but there are some guys who are just so open in their conversations that they will let you in, and you get a sense for who they are when they don't have a helmet on and they're not on the ice. And I don't get anything from Frolov. I can't read into it.
You aren't the only one. I mean, nobody gets
Was it Lombardi or the coach who said Frolov always says the right things when we sit him down? I don't know who wrote that, but I think one of them apparently said, he always has the right answers. Yes, I know. I'm going to do it. I'm ready now. And then, like you were saying, it's a week and right back to the same old thing.
You say weak, W-E-E-K or W-E-A?
If he's a third line left winger, you got a really good team.
I think that
I don't think he has the grit.
I think that, and I don't know this, but I'm guessing that Dean Lombardi knows exactly how much he's willing to pay this guy.
Yeah.
And the risk is, if Frolov's not willing to accept that, does he go to some other team and become a 50-goal scorer? No. That's the question he's probably asking himself, and I think you're right. I think the risk of that happening is pretty low for this team.
One of the more telling things that Dean Lombardi told me when I was last talking to him was, and he posed it as a question.
Is Frolov a good player on a good team, or a good player on a not so good team? And I think we know.
Alright, so that's it for this installment of the postseason roundtable. I hope you enjoyed it. We will be back yet again in the next coming days. I'm Keith Korneluk.
And I'm Chris Kalazuski, and thank you for watching Overtime by KingsCast.